She didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't ask for forgiveness. She sat across from the investigators with an impassive face. The schoolgirl spoke about what had happened as if she were discussing the school menu. Her hands lay on the table, calm. Her gaze didn't dart around. She breathed evenly. In 2018, the country was shaken by a crime that seemed impossible. A couple from St. Petersburg, 22-year-old Arkady Zverev and Valeria Yargina, committed a crime against 21-year-old Alexander Popovich. What happened next goes beyond comprehension. How does a 22-year-old man become a couple with a teenager? Where were the parents? And most importantly, what pushed them to do such a thing? Let's start from the very beginning. Arkady Zverev was born in '96 in Rubtsovsk, a small town in Altai Krai with a population of 120,000 people. A town about which they say, everyone knows everyone. His mother gave birth to him at 40, already being an older woman. The birth was difficult. Soon after her son's birth, she broke up with her partner, who had cheated on her. The boy's father never took part in his life. There were no calls, no money either. He never paid alimony. From childhood, Arcadi was withdrawn. At school, he sat by the window, the last desk. Classmates teased him for his untidy appearance, his shirt always wrinkled, hair unwashed, gaze directed at the floor. He had no friends. He spent breaks alone in the corridor by the radiator where no one stood. He ate sandwiches wrapped in newspaper. Only at 19 did he find a comrade, a guy named Sasha. Alexander had no roof over his head, and Arkady invited him to his place. Perhaps this is what brought them closer. When you are lonely yourself, you recognize another's loneliness immediately. Arkady's mother didn't object. The house became a little more cheerful. One evening, after drinking heavily, Sasha confessed to Arkady that he had committed a grave crime against his own mother. He spoke quietly, looking at the table. His hands trembled. Moreover, he suggested that Zverev do the same to his own mother. He said it like an invitation to go to the store, as if it were about going for bread. This enraged Arcady so much that he attacked his friend with a knife. The building manager recalled how Sasha ran in a critical condition. It turned out that Arcady had attacked him while he was sleeping. Alexander survived, although he received serious injuries. The ambulance arrived 20 minutes later. In court, the victim stated that Zverev was taking medications prescribed to his sick mother. Which ones exactly, he did not specify. Psychotropic, presumably. The investigation declared the guy insane and sent him for compulsory treatment to a psychiatric clinic. Zverev endured this period relatively calmly. Pills, routine, silence. Doctors noted that the patient behaved exemplarily. After being discharged from the hospital, Arkady met his first love, Olya Semibokova. They met in a shopping mall by the arcade games. He was losing, she was watching from the side. The girl reciprocated his feelings and naively hoped to change him. She thought, I can do it. Olya's grandmother, with whom she lived, was vehemently against it, but the couple still lived together. Their relationship was difficult, constant conflicts in which even elderly relatives suffered. One day, Arcadi used physical force against Olya's grandfather. In 2017, the lovers decided to leave their hometown. Olya took 100,000 rubles and a suitcase with her belongings. A pink suitcase on wheels, almost childish, a birthday gift from her parents. Their first stop was Novosibirsk, where the girl enrolled in the psychology faculty. But she didn't last long. She was expelled for absences. Arcadi wouldn't let her attend lectures, causing scandals. Then the couple went to St. Petersburg. They settled in Murino, in the Devyatkino district. An apartment on the 4th floor, a studio, windows facing the courtyard. The wallpaper was old, peeling at the corners. Olga got a job selling donuts at a kiosk near the metro and worked part-time as a cleaner. She woke up at 5 in the morning, returning at 9 in the evening. Arcadi was not in a hurry to work, dreaming of a music career or a profession as a tattoo artist. He bought a guitar, but never learned to play. Money was catastrophically short. Acquaintances said that for a long time, the young couple ate exclusively instant noodles. Then Semibakova decided to reconcile with her relatives and ask for financial help. She dialed her grandmother's number, remaining silent on the phone for a long time. She didn't know how to start the conversation. They met her halfway and transferred 40,000 rubles for the purchase of a tattoo machine for Arcadi. They hoped he would at least start earning money. However, 4 days after the money transfer, a misfortune occurred. Olga passed away from a fall from a height. Despite the couple living on the 4th floor, she was found near the 9th. Neighbors said they heard screams, curses, the crash of furniture. Zverev claimed he was fast asleep at that moment. On social media, he published a long post expressing shock and grief. He wrote about 3 years of living together, about Olya's depression, about how the day had been wonderful. He asked why this was happening specifically to him. Subscribers expressed their condolences. Zverev was not held accountable. The girl's death was attributed to a voluntary decision. No one investigated how exactly she ended up on a higher floor. Arcadi immediately moved out of the apartment in Murino. He packed his belongings in an hour, took Olya's pink suitcase, and soon left to work in Moscow. Even before that, through an acquaintance, he acquired a Venom costume, an anti-hero from the Spider-Man franchise. All summer, Zverev worked as an animator on Novi Arbat, taking photos with tourists. Initially, the criminals said they simply wanted to eat. They were silent for a long time. Then they admitted that what happened occurred because of a quarrel. During the interrogation, it was revealed that no one had molested anyone. Lera simply manipulated Zverev and made her do it for her. During a medical examination, it was established that the schoolgirl had never been involved in intimate relationships. There were no signs of physical assault. Why Arcadi took her from Sochi remained unknown. He never answered this question, only turned away. Lera deliberately deceived Zverev, provoking him into unlawful acts because she enjoyed it. She watched from the sidelines and derived pleasure from it. SKR, Investigative Committee of Russia, were sure that the idea for what happened belonged to her. She was the first to suggest it. Arcadi initially doubted, but she insisted. She said it would be a special experience. During interrogations, unlike the subdued Zverev, she behaved imperturbably. She recounted everything in detail and clearly enjoyed it. She smiled sometimes, adjusted her hair. Investigators noted a complete lack of remorse. One of the SKR officers admitted to colleagues that in 20 years of work, he had never seen anything like it. Arcadi, on the other hand, requested a closed court session, explaining that he did not want notoriety and recognized the gravity of what he had done. He spoke quietly, looked at the table, his hands trembling. He asked for forgiveness from Popovich's relatives. Lyra's psychiatric evaluation showed that she was fully aware of what was happening. She understood that she was causing irreparable harm, that she was breaking the law. She simply saw nothing wrong with it. For her, it was entertainment, a way to gain new experience. When asked if she regretted it, she replied, "No, it was interesting." Meanwhile, Alexander's family had to bury him in 2 stages. The first funeral took place without everything. The coffin was closed, no one saw. When law enforcement returned what was missing after the completion of forensic examinations, a second funeral took place. His mother did not attend the second one. She couldn't. She stayed home. Coming to his senses, Arcadi repented during one of the interrogations. He cried in his cell, screamed at night. In the pre-trial detention cell, he even attempted to end his life. He was saved at the last moment. But Arcadi never truly recovered. The young man passed away after 2 months in a coma. His brain did not recover from oxygen deprivation. He was buried near St. Petersburg, on the outskirts of a cemetery. A grave without a monument. The fate of his accomplice turned out to be quite different. Although she was essentially an accomplice, she had not reached the required age at the time of the crime. She could not be convicted. Criminal liability begins later. The law is the law. She was returned to Krasnodar Krai, to Sochi. The schoolgirl went to a regular boarding school. By that time, her mother had already been stripped of her parental rights. Lyra rarely communicated with anyone. She sat alone during breaks. Classmates recounted that once, while discussing something, Valeria declared her experience. She said it loudly. Everyone heard. Someone laughed, thinking it was a joke. But then someone Googled, and they learned the truth. Panic ensued. After this, the students' parents revolted. They wrote a collective complaint to the principal. They demanded her removal from the school. They threatened to withdraw their own children. Lyra was transferred to a special, closed-type school. The schoolgirl traveled everywhere with a pink suitcase that had belonged to Olya Semibokova. She kept it under her bed. Interestingly, it was also not possible to place her in a psychiatric clinic. Psychiatric diagnoses were not confirmed. The examination showed sane. She understood the nature of her actions and could control them. She simply didn't see the need to stop. At the end of 2022, information emerged that Valeria became a prize winner in a municipal poetry competition. She took 3rd place for reciting a poem. After graduating from the educational institution, the girl decided to acquire 2 professions, shoemaker and cook. She even looked for a college where she could be taught the basics of culinary art. She eventually gave up on the culinary department. She was not accepted after a background check. As soon as Valeria turned 18, she changed her surname, first name, and patronymic. She submitted an application to the registry office. She tried to erase the past. She tried to distance herself from those events, now claiming that she had not participated, that the investigators had made everything up, that she had been forced to sign the protocols. After school, Lyra got married and gave birth to a daughter. The pregnancy proceeded normally. However, family life did not work out due to her husband's infidelity. The woman could not forgive her beloved and divorced, but she did not forbid him from spending time with their daughter. Valeria doesn't like to recall her dreadful past. The topic is closed. According to the woman, she worked with specialists for a long time to move on from the events of 2018. She claims that she is now a completely different person. She now denies her involvement in what happened. According to her, she was hiding in another room at the time of the incident. She claims that she was very scared, huddled in a corner out of fear, and couldn't move. She didn't do anything at all. Arcadi did everything himself. However, during earlier interrogations, she stated something entirely different. She recounted every stage in detail. The sole witness to those events, Arcadi, also confirmed for the record that she not only participated, but also insisted on it. Moreover, it was she who suggested it. Popovich's relatives still cannot come to terms with the fact that she remained unpunished. Alexander's mother says she cannot sleep at night, knowing that the criminal lives an ordinary life. She has a family, a daughter, a job. Her older brother admits he's afraid of accidentally running into her on the street. He doesn't know if he'll be able to control himself. The protection system is designed so that teenagers who have committed crimes can reform. But does it work in cases of deliberate cruelty, conscious sadism, and a complete lack of remorse? When a crime is committed not in a fit of passion, not out of despair, but out of curiosity and a desire to try what is forbidden. The schoolgirl committed the unthinkable, not out of hunger, not out of fear, but out of interest. This phenomenon in modern society seems something impossible, a story from textbooks or horror films. But there were times when people resorted to this not out of curiosity, but out of despair. When the authorities themselves created the system, trapping thousands in a snare with no escape. The Nazino tragedy is one of the most horrific events in Soviet history. 6,000 people were deported to Siberia and disembarked on an island in the middle of the Ob River, where there was no housing, no food, no tools. Only sand, water, and cold. Only death. The tragedy on Nazino Island in the Tomsk region occurred over 90 years ago. However, for almost 70 years, this story was strictly classified. Documents lay in archives under seal. People tried not to remember what happened there. It was shameful. By the early 1930s, 2 waves of peasant deportations had already swept across the USSR. Echelons followed one after another. Mass epidemics, combined with famine, engulfed the country. It claimed no less than 7 million human lives. Entire villages died out. They tried to save the situation with a passport reform. A document or out of the city. Mass arrests began almost immediately. Patrols detained thousands of people without documents on the streets and sent them in freight cars to Siberia. Students, chauffeurs, workers, anyone who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Even the sons of the Tomsk prosecutor ended up on the island by mistake. True, their father quickly retrieved them. No one was waiting for the arrival of the settlers. When the commandant's office received a telegram, the official replied that they would not be able to accommodate so many people. There were no conditions. The reply from Novosibirsk was short. 3,000 had departed. Expect 3 more in a week. No options. After a meeting, it was decided. The people would be sent to a small island in the middle of the Ob. An ideal prison. A kilometer to the shore on each side. Strong current, icy water. Not everyone reached the island. The first losses began already on the barges. They were transported in holds, without light, without food. On the day of disembarkation, about 40 people already showed no signs of life. While they were being prepared for burial, some began to revive. Among them were survivors. Already from the first days, a mass of arrivals began to die. In addition to having no roof over their heads, strong wind, cold, and abundance of insects. For 3 days, no one was given any provisions. People ate bark, moss, earth. Some chewed shoes. Fires broke out across the island. The wind fanned the sparks. People lost strength by the fires during sleep. They died from exhaustion, cold, and burns. The deceased could not be buried fast enough. When flour was finally brought, a stampede began, a crush. No dishes were issued. They mixed a gruel in hats, in sleeves. Some lunged at the dry flour and suffocated. Everyone was divided into brigades. Criminals pushed their way into being brigade leaders, appropriating rations. They shared only with their own. Criminals united into gangs, hunted the others, took their clothes and valuables. Soon, that very thing began. At first, occasionally, then on a horrifying scale. Every day, new victims. A transcript of a conversation with one of those who committed this has been preserved. He was caught with evidence. He calmly explained his logic to the investigators. He chose those who were already close to death. He spoke about it without emotion. Women more often became victims. They were stolen from dugouts at night. A local resident from a neighboring village recalled meeting a settler who had received severe injuries on the island. The 40-year-old woman looked like an ancient old woman and could not move normally. In 4 months, about 2,200 of the 6,000 people survived. The rest died from hunger, diseases, or became victims of cruel treatment. The Nazino tragedy would have remained unknown had Vasily Velichko, an instructor of the district party committee, not intervened. In July 1933, he interviewed dozens of those involved and sent a report to Stalin in Moscow. He personally wrote a letter. The investigation confirmed the facts, after which all materials were classified for decades, kept away from the people. The residents of Nazino try to preserve the memory of the tragedy. A church dedicated to the innocent victims has been built in the village. White walls, golden domes. Every year in June, flowers are brought to the cross on the island. People arrive by boat, light candles. The island is often flooded by water, and soon it may disappear completely. 2 stories of a similar phenomenon. One about despair and survival, when people were driven to extremes. The other about curiosity and entertainment, when a crime was committed out of boredom. On Nazino Island, People resorted to this because they were dying of hunger. There was no choice. In the village of MGA, a schoolgirl and a 22-year-old guy committed the unthinkable, having money in their pockets. There was a choice. There, hopelessness. Here, choice. There, thousands of victims of the system. Here, one guy who trusted the wrong people. And now, the perpetrator lives freely. She raises a daughter, works, builds a life under a new name. She denies the past, although interrogation records state otherwise. She walks the streets of the same city where she once committed the unthinkable.